I sold another shopping mall one town up in Murrieta that was $16,750,000. I sold one called Oceanside Marketplace that was $11.6 million. I had a couple more $5 million deals, $4 million deals. I went from being like, $100,000 to $200,000 a year broker to being a $1 million plus year broker.
Hello， 大家好。今天我非常有幸请到了圣地亚哥的一个非常非常火的一个 broker， 他的名字叫 Eric。那现在我们可以跟他聊一聊他是怎么开始这个 commercial real estate。Hello everyone, this is Isaac's son here at Dim Sum Deal. Today we have the honor to interview one of my best friend and the best guy in the commercial real estate game, Eric.
Isaac, thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic.
Yeah, long time no see. By the way, congrats on the baby.
Thank you.
Well, before we dive into your investment, let's talk about how did you get started in commercial real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Isaac, thank you so much for having me on. I think it's fantastic what you're doing with this podcast, and I hope that lots of people hit you up for some commercial real estate business. Diving into my story here, I sort of cut my teeth at the end of 2015, got my real estate license, didn't really know anything about the brokerage business. I just knew that there were people out there making lots of money, and I wanted to be one of them. Sort of bounced around. Not a ton of firms were looking to hire new associates that time. I landed with a small company here in Mission Valley that did mostly tenant rep commercial leasing, which was not at all what I thought I'd be doing, but I had a ton of gumption and not a lot of real estate IQ. So I just jumped into it head first. Worked super duper hard. Those first 2 years did not make very much money at all, made tons of mistakes.
Well, let me ask you a question. How much you made in the first year in commercial real estate?
In my first year in commercial real estate, I think I submitted 85 LOIs, and I made a total of $7,000 for the year.
$7,000?
$7,000 for the year. I joke to my wife often that I know hundreds of ways to not close a deal.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, $7,000. How you survive on that?
It was the times were lean. I remember going to the IKEA across the freeway here. They did $2 breakfast, and it's meant for people who are shopping at IKEA. But I'd be there every single morning with bacon, egg, and cheese with a cup of coffee. But no, it's a grind, and I think that this is common for most people who break into the business. I would say my first inflection point came about 18 months in. I had been burned on quite a few deals, and I started to get a little bit jaded and stubborn, which I think are characteristics of pretty much all successful brokers. I, at that point, just focused on being hyper-focused geographically. I live out in the city of La Mesa, which is just east of San Diego, and I basically picked a 2-block range in West La Mesa along University Avenue, which at the time was a bit of a rough patch. And I told myself I am going to be the number one broker from 7,200 University to 7,400 University, and I would just pound the pavement going door to door to every single business. Within about a month of doing that, I had 3 listings on the same street, and I actually was the top dog on those 2 blocks, and started making some money, started doing some deals. Your listings grow organically the more signs you get. Yeah.
Well, so what happened then later?
It's
make some money,
Yeah, I was still doing a lot of leasing at the time, which the paychecks are not enormous, and it's very difficult to scale a business where all of your deals are very unique. About 2 years into the business, I caught a real lucky break with hiring the best junior I've ever hired, a young man here in town named Max Reynolds. Max, I joke, had the worst interview of anyone that I interviewed to work for me. But of all the people I've hired, he's worked out the best. Max and I really caught fire. I think that first year together, we closed something like 45 or 50 lease transactions. I remember that there was a day in the office where we had 3 lease signings back to back, that every 30 minutes we had a new group of people coming in to sign a lease. So we were making some money.
That's a good day.
Yeah, no, I finally felt like what I was doing was the right thing. And then we caught another lucky break. Max is so funny. He is like not the best cold caller, but he just comes across these diamond in the rough kind of leads. He had cold called this shopping mall in San Diego along El Cajon Boulevard that was listed with another broker, and basically got his foot in the door, and I took it from there, and we ended up taking over the leasing for the shopping center called Aztec Village near San Diego State.
Oh, wow.
And we were working hard on the leasing. We didn't have really much prospects as far as filling the vacant space, but in a great sequence of events, a buyer approached us off market. And we basically ended up finding ourselves in a $5 million sale transaction, which was about 5 times larger than any escrow I had closed at that time. So it was a huge learning experience. There was quite a bit of drama and turbulence with that deal, but we did get it closed. Made a good amount of money, not as much as I would have liked, but it was a great learning lesson, and overall it was a huge boost to my confidence.
Absolutely.
Just to have like a $5 million deal.
$5 million deal under your belt?
Yeah, I think I was like 27 or 28 at the time. So it was all of a sudden I was like, this is going to work. I was able to parlay that into some more deals. I would say the primary major inflection point in my career was in 2018, 2019. I got the leasing gig for a shopping mall in La Mesa. And I had a 9,000 square foot vacancy for a school that was relocating, and the owner was really concerned about having such a big space go vacant. I was able to find another school who took it as is immediately, like literally 0 days of vacancy. The previous tenant moved out on the last day of the month, and the new tenant moved on the next day of the month, and there wasn't like a single dollar of rent lost. And needless to say, that landlord was super happy with me. And about 9 months later, they decided it was time to sell that property. And
you were the guy.
I was the guy. And I mean, at the time, I would say I did not really have the pedigree to get that kind of listing. I think there were quite a few more senior brokers in town who were a bit perturbed that I was picking up these kind of accounts. I was 29 at the time, and it was a $7 million listing.
Wow.
So we ended up selling that one. I was able to find a buyer who did all cash, 30-day close. And that was the first super juicy fee of my career. I think after paying the broker and everything, I took home about $200,000 on that deal. And it really it put a ton of things in context. I mean, I had worked so hard on some deals that paid so much less, and I mean, this one, it start to finish, it was 30 days, and it really, there was like a light bulb moment in my head that it's like, it's not equal in terms of input to output. That, I mean, you can work super duper hard on small deals to make small checks, or you can work equally as hard on big deals and make really big checks. So I parlayed from there. That same client gave me a listing on a shopping center up in Temecula. I was able to double in that deal. That was my biggest fee I've ever earned. That was an $8.5 million deal.
Oh, that's that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Creekside Center up in Temecula. I ended up making a 4% commission on that one. So
Jesus.
cool. $340K to end out the year. The IRS was incredibly pleased with me that year.
Give me your money.
But yeah, I mean, things just sort of caught fire from there. I ended up selling the shopping mall across the street off market. That was a $17,250,000 deal. I sold another shopping mall one town up in Murrieta. That was $16,750,000. I sold one called Oceanside Marketplace that was $11.6 million. Had a couple more $5 million deals, $4 million deals. It just really, I went from being like a, $100,000 to $200,000 a year broker to being a $1 million plus year broker, and the whole thing just seemed to happen so quickly. It caught me by surprise, and yeah, here I am.
Well, I don't know if you remember when I first came to SVN, I had to sit on my desk. Everybody was telling me, hey, Eric is the big dog, the tough dog. I was like, I don't know if you noticed, but every morning I'll just go to your office, just kind of talk to you, kind of figure out like, hey, what's you got going on? Like, I want to learn from you. I never told you that. I don't think I ever told you that, but like, I appreciate all the advice you gave me. And to be honest, do you remember I did a Chula Vista deal for myself?
Mm-hmm.
That deal was mainly because you and the Max, to be honest, because fresh in the firm, I was just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. But obviously, you can tell my cold calling skill is not there. I mean, I have a disadvantage, so I was like, I just want to kind of do some small deals, kind of learn some of the trade, and then do my own deal. But at the time, I remember you mentioned that you and Max just started investing, investment properties. I was like, I want to be like you. And then sure enough, the Chula Vista property came up. So I made I took action. I mean, the process was painful. I don't know if you remember. I was stressing out, all this stuff. But at the time...
Wait, wasn't that the deal where the lender bailed on you like the week of the closing?
Okay. So the day before we're closing, the lender was like, "Yo, we can't get this closed because there's a vacancy at the property, so we can't get it closed." The day before, I came in the office, I almost cried. So, but long story short, we were able to close that deal. But I think that was probably the most hardest deal I ever done for myself. But I did the deal just mainly because you and the Max.
Well, that's super awesome, and I would say, Isaac, that I think you've done wonderful for yourself, and a lot of people back in my SVN days would come in and ask for guidance or advice, wisdom, that kind of stuff, and very few people acted on it. I would say you're in like a group of less than a handful of people who have taken action on some of the pointers that I had, as well as, I mean, I've learned a lot from you as well. We knocked down that great Oceanside land deal.
Yeah.
That ended up being a piece of cake. So,
well, for that deal, that was the first time we did a deal together, and just watching you how to talk to the seller and the buyer, how to do the transaction, it just like blows my mind how you like handle the situation.
Yeah, I gotta give the audience a little scoop on this deal. So I got a lead on a piece of land out in Oceanside that was like the last remaining piece of a residential subdivision, kind of a weird shaped piece of land just off the Arrowwood Golf Course, and I had only sold a couple land transactions previously, and all of them had taken forever and were very difficult and were not what I would consider like a lucrative use of my time. So the seller of the land was Chinese, and had basically bought the land as a speculative investment, held it for 10 years without doing anything with it, and now wanted to get out of it. And sort of my small thinking brain was, I need to find another Chinese speculator to buy this thing, that they can just pay more than the last guy. And Isaac speaks Chinese. Isaac knows the Chinese community. Let me partner with him. And literally in less than a week, he had a buyer for this land, which just to give context to the audience, I had sold a land transaction before that literally we had listed for 2.5 years before getting it closed. So, I mean, to get a buyer in less than a week is like completely unheard of. And we had a little bit of drama with the deal. There's a little bit of drama with every single deal, but fortunately, I'm here to be the sheriff and keep people in line, and they did, and we closed, and it was a real lucrative opportunity for the both of us.
Absolutely, make some easy money.
It's as close as you can get to easy.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think I did anything. You did all the hard work, all the talking. But let's talk about, since you made some of this big deal, start making some of this money. What'd you do with all your money?
Well, I paid a lot in taxes. That's definitely something I think people don't realize when they watch these real estate shows, and it makes it seem so easy. Is that you pay a fair chunk of it to your broker, which I think is equitable. I had some phenomenal support in my time working for a big national company, and then you also pay a big share in taxes. Last year I would go ranting around that I paid one presidential salary in taxes. But no, we made a good amount, and we took most of our proceeds and we reinvested them in properties. I had bought a condo before I really hit it big in real estate, and fortunately through the rapid appreciation that happened during COVID, my condo had gone up like 50% in value in like an 18-month period. So I think I was into this thing for like $30,000 or $40,000, and I sold it and walked out of escrow with $176,000. So that was a good nest egg to start, in addition to what I had made in the commissions. I bought a house in La Mesa del Cerro area that was like a big fixer-upper project. My wife is phenomenal at renovations and designs and stuff like that. So we bought that one off market at about 30% below fair market value, renovated it, refinanced it. I bought another deal with our good friend Max Reynolds. There was a 4-bedroom townhome that an older woman owned, and she was moving into an assisted living facility, and her kids were going to sell it, which I would say is symptomatic of most of my deals that I do, that there's some sort of external pressure. So we bought that one on the market, but we let the listing agent represent us, and we ended up getting a really good price on it. Did a really tacky, cheap renovation, probably the worst renovation I've ever done. Rented it for about 8 months. The tenant ended up being a bad apple. We got a bunch of complaints from the HOA, so I had to give the tenant the boot. And we decided it was time to sell it, just because we were pretty much in hot water with all of the neighbors. But again, the tides were rising. Property values had gone up a ton during that time from 2021 to 2022. So we had bought this thing for $460, and we sold it about 9 months later for $705. So that was probably the best deal I've ever done. I don't know if I'll ever replicate those results, but we took that money. We did a tax-deferred exchange. We found an off-market deal on a little retail center down in,
I remember that.
In Lemon Grove. Yeah. So we bought we took some of the money, put it into that, put the rest of the money into just another condo here in Mission Valley. And we're able to get some phenomenal financing from First Republic Bank. Rest in peace. And yeah, so we both of those deals ended up being a success. Learned a lot, made a fair amount of mistakes, but nice thing about real estate investing is if you can buy it at a good enough price, that there's a lot of room to not know what you're doing.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of brokers, they come into the brokerage. From what I notice is like they just want to make deals. They just want to make transactions. But you, on the other hand, like I watch you every day. You find a good deal. You want to probably just get it yourself.
Yeah, it's. I'll tell you that's one of the things that continues to blow my mind about most real estate agents is that I would suspect, and these are just total estimates on my part, that probably 80 to 90% of agents never buy an investment property.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I have found that being an investor has greatly helped my brokerage business because the clients that you're servicing are investors, and they trust much more if you're in the trenches with them making these deals.
Absolutely.
And you can tell them, if it was my property, this is what I would do. Whereas someone who's strictly just a broker, I mean, it's like a commission-based salesperson. I mean, you don't believe anything that they have to say.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's the whole point of being a real estate agent is to eventually get to the phase where you are the client, and
Yeah.
instead of cold calling, people are cold calling you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially right now. Think about it. Right now, all the agent, broker, like with this market going on.
Yeah, it's. I mean, here we are. It's October 2023, and yeah, it's a very challenging time to be a broker. The velocity is down. I'm seeing a lot of people getting into other things, whether they're real estate agents becoming insurance agents, or they're mortgage people who are now selling solar. I would predict there's going to be a huge attrition of agents in the next 12 to 18 months.
So let me ask you this: as a brand new commercial real estate agent, they want to get into the business. What is your advice to them right now?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I would say really consider if this is something that's right for you. I mean, it's not a short-term commitment. I would say that you, especially at where we're at in the market cycle, be prepared to spend 5 years struggling, just because there's so much of the you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. I would say learning a lot about the mechanics of investing and sort of approaching every deal as if you were going to buy this deal, how would you go about it, is probably the quickest way to learn. I would focus, find a niche, whether it's a product type or a specific geographic area, that is not sexy. I mean, there are like tons of people who they're like, I want to sell luxury homes in La Jolla, or I want to do retail in Pacific Beach, and it's just sort of the cooler it makes you look, the more competitive it is, and therefore the less of the opportunity. I mean, I got a lot of deals in the beginning of my career just focusing on really crappy properties in East County, San Diego. And sort of identifying situations where I had apathetic owners who were open-minded to a change. I mean, if your building has a ton of vacancy and it has a ton of problems, you're way more likely to talk to a broker and hear about what the opportunities are than if you have a super nice building in a premium location with a great tenant. I mean, why would you make any kind of transaction?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the life after the brokerage.
So I had a great career working with Isaac over at SVN. It was something that I think back on really fondly. If I could do it all again, I wouldn't change a thing. I think the resources and the culture and the people really enabled me to be the best that I could be, and I don't. All of the money that I made the house was cheap for what I got out of it. But yeah, no, I recently left my role as pretty much the top broker here in town for that company, and I've decided to just go full time into doing my own investing. My wife and I were very fortunate. We had our first baby. In
Congrats
July.
on that. Cute baby.
Super cute baby. Yeah, no, it's I when people tell me that I have a super cute baby and the baby looks like me, it's probably the most flattering compliment I could get. But yeah, so it's brokerage it's the best way to make a lot of money quickly, but it's not the best way to make a lot of money, if that makes sense. I have found that in doing my own personal investing, it's much more satisfying just being that am the only decision maker. I'm not having to manage other people's emotions. So that's what we're doing now. We're focusing mostly on buying small deals. My investment philosophy is that the floor moves up before the ceiling moves up. So buying the low end stuff, I think, is more of a risk adverse type of strategy. We've been getting a lot of, well, not a lot, but we have been buying crappy condos. I'm sort of becoming the crappy condo guy as far as buyers in town go. A lot of inheritance, probate, these kind of situations. Basically, someone inherits a property that they don't have a ton of cash on hand. They don't want to fix it up. They just want to get out of it. And I'm a good fit for those kind of situations. I just bought a deal last month in Spring Valley off market through a broker that I know. Sort of very similar to your situation. I got all the way up until the end, and then the lender bailed on me like 2 days before the closing.
Jeez.
So, we ended up buying the deal for cash. We had enough, fortunately, and we still moved forward on it. But yeah, so that's mostly what we're doing is we're buying income properties, mostly residential stuff. I do another commercial deal if I could find one, but I would definitely say that is a way more advanced type of an investment. Outside of that, I still have a little bit going in the brokerage wise. After doing it for so many years, my clients expect me to be there for them when they want to sell. And,
Absolutely.
If it's the people I like working with, I'll certainly keep working with them. And then our newest business that is very much in its infancy is we're getting into doing private lending. Basically, after the miserable experience I've had with a couple bank lenders recently, I'm realizing that there's a big opportunity for placing private debt. That the value of the convenience and the surety of working with a private lender versus working with a bank lender is really compelling, especially in this high interest rate environment right now.
Yeah.
So I made my first loan last week, and then right now I'm currently raising funds to make more of these loans, as well as talking to prospective borrowers about the projects that they're working on. But yeah, that's something I can't say too much about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm really excited for, and I think it's something that's going to allow us to really scale our business to be much larger than it is currently. And that in the current economic climate, the timing is kind of impeccable.
Yeah, that is awesome because, I've been through that the day before closing escrow. Oh, I can't lend the money to you, just like, what? We're almost done. Like, what do you mean? But this is awesome you're doing that. Let's talk about the current social media situation that a lot of people think investing in real estate or commercial real estate, it's super easy. You just buying a property and just making months and months of money. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I would say that anything that seems super easy is probably not a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And that it's, especially now in the era of social media and so many people being influencers, that people don't realize that you're just seeing the highlights, and that's not really like an accurate representation of what goes into to trying to be successful in this kind of business. I would say that real estate investing, whether residential, commercial, whatever you're doing, is it's challenging, but it's not difficult, if that makes sense. That like a lot of the concepts, once you sort of understand the framework, are relatively simple. You buy things at less than they're worth, and you improve them, and you increase the income, and then inherently the values of these things go up. I would say that it's really hard to find a good deal, and that oftentimes you have to be a bit creative in your business plan to make something into a good deal. A good example of this is a lot of the residential investing that we do. We lease through Section 8. Mm-hmm. We get affordable housing contracts with the government, and in specific zip codes that we're focused on, they pay ultra premium rent. We have some units that are currently renting at like 150% of the market rent.
Wow.
So what that allows us to do is we can buy market rate deals that other investors will pass on because there's not enough of a discount on them, and because of our unique understanding of how the affordable housing system works, we can create an above market return buying a market rate deal because we have this sort of creative strategy. So I would say it's such a competitive business that to just do the same thing that everyone else is doing, it is going to be very difficult to have success because it's such a saturated space, and that really to get ahead, you have to find some sort of a unique angle that you can work that basically you are able to utilize information that other people don't have.
Yeah. I remember when I was like started cold calling people always be like, I want to buy value added deal. I want to buy value added deal. I want to buy distressed property. Everybody want to buy distressed property. Everybody want to buy value added deal. But the problem is the deal is the hardest part. And especially right now, financing is going to be the next one, you know?
Yeah, no, I would say the biggest obstacle right now is figuring out your financing. I mean, and this is just my opinion, this is not the opinion of anyone else. I think that the banks... Disclaimer. I think that the banks actually don't want to make any loans. And that they are afraid to publicly admit that because it'll cause distress in the marketplace. But just shopping for loans right now, I mean, the pricing is terrible. I don't think there's a single permanent loan that has less than 2 points in upfront fees, and the rates are super high, and the leverages are low, and the funding takes forever, and so it's a challenge. But with every challenge, there's an equal opportunity created. That basically, if I am facing this obstacle, so is everyone I'm in competition with. So a lot of times, adversity can work to your advantage if you can figure it out. But yeah, I would say interest rates and the lack of liquidity in the market is the biggest challenge right now.
So, with the current market right now, like what is your prediction with commercial real estate in San Diego? Like just overall market, what's market gonna be look like in next 6 to 18 months?
Yeah, it's that's sort of the multi-million-dollar question everyone wants to know. I think that there's such a demand here that I don't suspect there's going to be like huge amounts of drops in prices. What it seems like to me is that the people who want to sell but don't need to sell are just holding off. I mean, the number of properties on the market is super low. And the number of properties that are selling at a severe discount is also really low. So I think a bunch of people either have no outstanding debt and can hold the properties forever, or were able to take advantage of the super low interest rates during the pandemic. So I think that, there's always deals. If you have to sell right now, it's a terrible time. So someone with like an urgency to sell is going to be forced to take a huge haircut on their price. So I think a couple of those deals exist. I think the market overall is not going to decline. It's just going to slow down. I think it's probably very specific to the type of product that you're dealing with. A high-rise office building with 40% vacancy obviously is in a lot more trouble than a Class B apartment building that's fully occupied.
Yeah. This wraps up this podcast, and I want to give a shout out to New Venture Escrow. Well, this has been a fantastic podcast. If people want to reach out to you, can you just let them know how they're going to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And Isaac, thank you so much for having me on. Again, like I said at the beginning, I think you're doing fantastic with this type of stuff, and it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. In terms of getting in touch with me, LinkedIn is probably my most active social media channel. Easy to find me there, as well as just throw my name into Google. I'm easy to get a hold of.
Oh, yeah, you are very active on Google. I looked you up. But, well, this is it, guys. Thank you.那这一次我们就聊到这里，然后我们下次再见。